I'm very sure that Tinubu's camp must be jittering in a serious panic as they watch the solidarity and the support, overwhelming support from the North to endorse P2B as the frontier of the coalition against Tinubu comes 2027. The North, by all indications, have no other choice but have rounded up to project P2B as the candidate that will dislodge Tinubu comes 2027. Reasons why Erufai in his latest briefing said that the North is going to form alliance with the East to ensure that Tinubu is ushered out of office. Definitely watch this video. If there is anyone to be afraid of, desperate Nigerian politicians. These are the class of people that you should be afraid of. Why? Because they can do everything, anything to pursue their interests. If there is anyone you should be afraid of, these are politicians, desperate politicians who will not stop at anything to get whatever they want, to protect their interests, to vie for whatever positions they have been nursing over the years. You may not know that whatever possibly they might have been undertaking, either in the public, was just to win the sympathy of the people, or to create false impression that possibly these are philanthropists, these are caring, but down-seated within them, they are of different personality. Now, having said this, let's double into today's discussion, bordering on the state of politics as the atmosphere continues to charge and build up. P2B has declared his position. I want to replace Tinubu being Nigeria's president in 2027. I want to replace Tinubu being Nigeria's president 2027. You can read in between the lines that this is an expression of not just ambition, but desperation. There's nothing wrong anyone being ambitious. There's nothing wrong setting a goal for yourself and pursuing those goals. There's nothing wrong living out your dreams and aspirations. Everybody has such opportunities to pursue his career or interests and achieve them. But what I'm saying in respect of the circumstances where Nigeria found itself at this particular time calls for sober reflection, called for scrutiny and thorough examinations, probing over what is going on. Even those who might be not seeing the intention of running for the office of the president, should Nigeria remain as one? I'm discussing this based on the concept that Nigeria possibly could remain one prior to 2027. Whatever be the case, let's study the antecedents of P2B, who have declared his intention. As I rightly said, I'm not against P2B pursuing his dreams and aspirations, possibly one of which is to become the president of Nigeria by replacing Ahmed Bola Tinubu 2027 and becomes Nigerian president. Well, that is ambitious, but away from that, let's look more deeper into what is playing out. Yes, for me, I am seeing an element of desperation. An element of desperation, not necessarily because he has the interests of Nigerians at heart. Some persons might misunderstand me, my positions. Just follow me as we flow together. Whatever be your projection or reservations regarding this, I am not saying that P2B possibly may not have performed well or doesn't have that tendency or possibility of doing well or delivering on his promises. But there are terms and conditions that are underlying factors that will determine eventually if someone will succeed or not, especially will align with the people or with the political oligarchs who dictate possibly or give conditions to support any candidate. Now, it is very clear that P2B definitely could not become the president of Nigeria only by the southern votes or the votes of the southeastern region. Definitely, he might possibly seek for alliance or coalition with the north. As events is unfolding now, it is clear that possibly for P2B to succeed, if by any chance, he possibly will form alliance with the north. And you can now feel and touch and sense the level of desperation on the part of the north. The north wants power returned to the Fulanis, to the hands of the Fulanis. They are not comfortable seeing power remaining in the south. And if by any means they could contemplate giving the next 4 years to a southerner, then it would be based on stringent conditions. There will be terms and conditions, in fact, that will make it almost impossible for anyone accepting such conditions to deliver on his or her promises to the people. He will be tied to the point that it will be practically impossible to do or engage his initiatives, what he believes could drive a vibrant economy or balance the system so that everybody could have a sense of belonging and treated equally. So it will be pretty difficult for anyone because of the stringent conditions attached, and they will give you certain conditions that they will want to select or appoint maybe service chiefs, some ministerial positions or parastatals will be under their control. They are the ones to appoint or nominate ministers who will man those positions. And P2B, perhaps, if he really wants to serve, wouldn't want to play to the gallery. So, and for him being independent, could not foster or muster the population or the vote needed for him to dislodge other opponents. So there must be a synergy across board, and of course coalition. Most importantly, it is becoming clear that Tinubu is strategizing and expanding his political base to the north, trying to divide the north, trying to make the middle belt or the northern, north central, to perceive and begin to see the core northern, the northeast and the northwest as their perceived enemies, with the crop of waves of insecurity rocking the Benue Plateau, Taraba, and the rest of them. So he could dive into that and cash out, possibly win the sympathy of these people. So it is going to be a very serious contention between Ahmed Bola Tinubu and the coalitions. And what is in the mind of the coalitions is nothing but to restore power from Ahmed Bola Tinubu, and they wouldn't hesitate or spare any chances of doing so. So possibly the North or the northern oligarchs, the Fulani oligarchs, will definitely have no other choice but to bring P2B on board and give him conditions, stringent conditions, for which they will support him. And if they do, eventually, P2B might definitely win, giving him his northern running mate as the vice president. Now, if that is done, what is important is what do you have to bring on the table? What do you have for Nigerians? If the subject or interest does not place the police first, then it means nothing. That could be nothing different from the administration of Buhari, Tinubu, and possibly the next successor, as the case might be. Though Tinubu have maintained there is no vacancy in Aso Rock, and the rest of them, well, these are mere political propaganda. But then the people understood that the power lies on them, and possibly Tinubu might want to do or go out of the box, to do whatever he could to control the tides in his favor. But whatever be the case, as it stands now, currently, the North have given up anything about Tinubu, and definitely we forge a common front against Tinubu to ensure that Tinubu is taught the lesson of his life. Perhaps he believes he is Jagaban and nobody can dare him. But then the North are ready to tell him that you have a limit as far as, of course, issue of politics is concerned. We know what you know. We give you such opportunity. Without the North, definitely Tinubu wouldn't have even envisaged the possibility of becoming the president of Nigeria. That would have been an impossibility for Tinubu. So he took advantage of the North and eventually seems to have discarded the North. Reasons why they are not happy with him, that he has betrayed the confidence reposed on him, or possibly do not live up to responsibility or their agreement. Whatever be the case, this might definitely play out again, but then in a different levels. So the North will seek anyone who will protect their interests in the next 4 years, most especially from the eastern region, so that they could contend with the Tinubu administration or whatever structure he has on ground, and definitely dislodge him. Yes, because they are determined, and this article, El-Rufai, Senator Shehu Sani, Ango Abdullahi, Abala Mohammed, the list is endless, and these people could not be underestimated. Rotimi Amechi from the south, and the rest of them, being that the people are expressing some level of dissatisfaction over Tinubu's administration and the economic woes that have left the masses more poorer, more frustrated than ever imagined in the history of Nigeria. But then, would Tinubu have an alternative, or possibly a magic wand to convince the people, or possibly vote them to his side? But one thing is important, as our interest lies on P2B and the possibility of P2B emerging as the president of Nigeria, as he have declared intention, possibly might not want to be the vice to any Northerner. And if the North really wants to take that opportunity to dislodge Ahmed Bola Tinubu, then they must consider a Southerner, or more importantly, an Eastern candidate that we battle with Tinubu, because any Southwestern candidate appointed or selected might definitely, you know what, at the if of events, might definitely make a U-turn to support Tinubu. So if the North want to build a formidable opposition, definitely they must source for a sellable candidate from the East. But as it stands now, possibly P2B might have an edge, might be considered as someone that could be acceptable or sellable to the public based on what he believes and the antecedents, or what he claims to have achieved or intends to achieve. And whatever be the case, one thing is important. It is not just running for the president. What can you deliver? Now, as I've rightly said, that not that P2B naturally might not want to perform, but the stringent conditions attached to his emergence as the presidential candidate of any party or coalition of his choice might definitely make it almost impossible for him to deliver, because within these next 4 years, definitely his hands will be tied. And considering the state of economy currently, it is not a quick fix. So anybody expecting Nigeria to be a quick fix under this current administration that have borrowed extravagantly, I mean, it is not feasible. So you can imagine the debt profile of Nigeria just in the last 2 years. You see, it spikes across, I mean, 100 and something, almost hitting towards 200 trillion. And you know what that means. So it's a very serious problem to contend with. And where you spend more than 100 and something percent of your annual revenue in servicing of debt. Now you understand what that means. So the economy isn't going to be a quick fix. But then one thing is important. In the area of economy, definitely there may be almost a negligible positive change. Why? Because possibly people might want to, due to the confidence reposed on P2B, definitely my investors might be worried to invest in Nigeria because they believe that P2B might have some regard for the rule of law, but which I may not totally agree, because P2B has an antecedent, and definitely we will touch there in just a matter of minutes. Now, it is very clear that the economy might definitely not be a quick fix with the battered economy and the state of insecurity rocking almost the entire state of Nigeria. No state is exempted, not even Lagos. Honestly, it's just that possibly we may not see escalations as in other regions or states across the nation. Now, when it comes to security, you consider that P2B might not have the political will to confront the state of insecurity or to go after those behind the scene fueling this insecurity just for political or economic gains. You see, stepping on them might definitely be the beginning of P2B's problem if eventually he becomes the president and eventually wins. So P2B might want to tread on a soft ground and eventually pay lip service to the fight against insurgency, because if he eventually wants to step on the toes of those behind this Boko Haram terrorist activities, they might definitely come after him, escalating the state of insecurity. And possibly if he fails to keep the agreement, terms of agreement, and definitely there will be reign of horror. And by so doing, definitely investors who might want to invest or possibly have confidence in the administration of P2B might definitely not change in their mind because of the spike of insecurity that will be rekindled. Most importantly, just as what you are seeing, an escalation of that more than what it used to be during Buhari's time, which everybody is aware of the current realities, that more persons have been killed than in the last 8 years of Buhari. In the last 2 years of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, more people have been killed even in the southeastern region. Most pronouncedly in the last 8 months, the spikes of killing is getting out of proportion. You begin to ask, what then? Could it mean that even a northern candidate could even be trusted in terms of security? Because we never heard or see this wave of the spikes of insecurity during the times of Buhari. We knew there was, but then with the trend of events and the ties spiraling out of control, it is quite worrisome and very disturbing. The Fulani springing from left and right, invading communities, taking the battle or the ethnic cleansing or jihad direct to the ancestral homes and communities of the indigenous people. That makes it more very devastating to contend with. Now, it appears to be might not step on toes because of the political interests and alignment with the North. So that is another important issue of concern to raise. And when you consider the antecedents of P2B during the days he was the governor of Anambra State, we saw he never observed the rights of expression. The massive movement of members were massacred in Onitsha, and thousands of them were drawn in his river. Of course, evidence abounds to that. And when P2B was interrogated, he said, I was not in town, maybe traveled to London for whatever reasons. Is that an excuse? You have the chief security of the state and the commissioner of police and the rest of them. Why not set up a panel of inquiry to ascertain what would have transpired and brought those people to justice? Even while you were around, of course, Onitsha massacre was there. So what could have justified the position of P2B killing people who are merely expressing the right of liberty, of expression, of self-determination? It's not a crime. So P2B is not somebody people might think he is, because his antecedents of past suggest otherwise. He's a person who possibly might not adhere to the rule of law, just attacking group of Masop who only with the use of placard, of course, and chanting of songs on the street, they never took up arms against P2B, against the state, but they were massacred in such a very terrifying and brutal nature. You can imagine, they were pushed to the Izu River and be shot. You will go to the swamps, you see thousands of them, you see, and P2B could not give an explanation to this. So what guarantees your confidence in him that definitely he will be lenient to the agitators? Yes, he might definitely go after the agitators who have reasons for agitating, whose reasons for agitating is genuine, definitely just to please his allies or the northern oligarchs, and by so doing impound and possibly might annihilate, assassinate, or kill and murder more people. So with his past, you can relate to possibly what he might do. Now, if in terms of industrialization and the rest of that, it will be pretty difficult or impossible for P2B to fix the problem of industry in Nigeria. Why? Because power is a major factor, and the big players in power might not want him to do that or to create certain reforms that will definitely put them at the point or place of disadvantage. You know, these people are not just people that should be pushed over. But then some person might say P2B is, of course, the president and grand commander. That isn't so. There should be a level of compromise for him to eventually complete that 4 years tenure. Will not be a matter of joke. Will not be as easy as some people speculate. But then, because there are underlying factors, except he have decided definitely what's come to us, Nigeria will definitely separate. Nigeria will be devolved. Every region go to their respective and manage their resources and control, of course, their security and otherwise. So the North, who had been against state security, creation of state security, might not even welcome that during the era of P2B, because they understood once that is done, possibly that might hamper certain interests they share in common among the northern elites or northern populace. Another one, they will want to eventually take over power should the 4 years elapse. Yes, because they will strategize. The reason why they have to give stringent conditions to P2B is to make it impossible for him to manipulate who might be his next successor. So the North will definitely choose the next successor after Tinubu, should he be considered in this coalition movement to oust Tinubu out of office. But if that is not the case, well, there could be other, of course, political calculations or whatever happens. Definitely, if Tinubu should stand in isolation, not forming alliance with the coalition, definitely it will be to the advantage of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, because whoever coming from the north might divide the northern vote. And you know what that means? Already the southern votes will also be divided. So definitely with the power of incumbency, Ahmed Bola Tinubu might definitely have an advantage over these two other candidates. But whatever happens, I know that the North might also be exploring such possibilities and the outcomes of such events and permutations, political permutations, and whatever happens. So it is now very clear that what Nigeria needs is to call for national sovereign conference, where issues of importance bordering on the continued existence of Nigeria must be discussed. So even with the P2B candidacy or whatever, if eventually emerges, nothing definitely will change, because he will contend with so many forces. By the time you know it, he will be telling you that even 4 years isn't enough to fix that, just as what Tinubu is saying, giving excuses, reasons why he is failing, or reasons possibly why he might not deliver on the dividends of democracy or live or for to fulfill the expectations. And being that is, they have taken an oath of allegiance to serve the masses. Now, are the masses better off? Of course, the answer could be gotten on the street of Nigeria, where people are shouting, a big mommy, and the rest of them. It's quite unfortunate, shouting of insecurity. They are helpless, they are being killed, they are massacred on a daily basis under the watch of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. It's very clear that the issue of economy could not be fixed, because if the last 2 years was not enough for Tinubu to have navigated out of this wound, definitely the next 2 years was to prepare for the next election. So he will definitely be distracted from the art of governance, and just to face the political permutations and calculations towards the build-up of 2027.